when we're talking about unit conversions and we have to do some math, looks like I'm missing part of my quotation marks there, okay? When we do conversions and we have to do some math to convert from one unit to another, right? We use something called a conversion factor, And conversion factors are just numbers that basically give us the equivalencies of our units, okay? They allow us to see the relationship between one unit and another. Okay, conversion factors are equalities, basically equalities between units. So if I said, how many inches are in 1 foot? How many inches are in 1 foot? 12. That's a conversion factor. That number 12 allows me to convert between inches and feet, right? And whether you multiply or divide depends on which way you want to go, right? If I want to go from inches to feet, I'll divide by 12. And if I want to go from feet to inches, I multiply by 12. Are we on the same page so far? You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so these are conversion factors. All of the metric system information I gave you yesterday, like you knowing there's 100 centimeters in a meter, that's also a conversion factor, right? All of these things, all these numbers that allow us to go from one unit to the next are called conversion factors. Okay, those are all examples of conversion factors, ones listed here, okay? When conversion factors are used properly, all the units will cancel out except the unit that we are converting to. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we use that method. Okay, when we do conversions correctly, we're going to be able to cancel out all of our units to get our numbers to work right. So before we even really jump into that, I want to just think about a couple of things here. If I multiply two fractions together, right? 2 over 3 times 4 over 4. What can I do? Can I do anything here?
Like, cross simplify?
Okay, I can simplify, right? Can't I simplify? Yeah. Right? If I want to simplify or if I want to cancel out numbers, one has to be on the top and one has to be on the bottom, right? That's all that I really want to demonstrate here. I can't cancel out the 3 and the 4 from each other.
No, but you can also cancel them diagonally.
Yep, I can cancel diagonally too. It's as long as there's one in the numerator and one in the denominator, I can cancel them. So that's kind of all I want to demonstrate. And I don't know that I necessarily gave you a wonderful example there, but I want you to understand, right, in a fraction, if the top and the bottom are the same, they can be canceled out, right? So that's what we're going to kind of pay attention to here when we're looking at our conversions, because we're going to use basically sets of fractions to help us get there. So here's a few more conversion factors that help us convert within the U.S. system, okay? I want you to fill in these numbers. Do you know how many inches are in a foot? Do you know how many feet are in a mile? Do you know how many ounces in a pound? I want you to fill that stuff in. See if you know it. Okay, do you know any of those conversion factors? Yes, we think we know some, or no, we think we don't.
Yeah, I think we don't know.
1 mile is like 5,000 something.
It's like 5,250 something.
Very close. Let's go with the first one. How many inches are in a foot? 12. How many feet are in a mile?
5,256.
5,280. 5,280. 16 ounces in 1 pound. And do you know how many quarts are in a gallon? 4, right? Very good. 4. Okay, so these are things that help us to convert within the U.S. system. Okay, U.S. system. This is a chart that you will get on your quizzes and tests, stuff like that. So on your quiz test, I'll give you like the big side of your metric system chart, and then this as well. Okay, so I'll kind of give you all of the things that you need. You have to be able to apply them. All right, let's practice converting with U.S. measurements first. Let's not even mess with the metric system. Let's just stick with what we know for right now. So I want to figure out how many feet are in 38 inches. How many feet are in 38 inches? How would I go about solving for that?
3
times 12.
Okay, so if I take 3 times 12,
36.
I know, it's 36.
that's 36, right? That's not it. So let's try again. What am I going to do with my 38? I've got to take my 38 inches and I've got to convert it to feet. So how can I do that?
38 times 12.
38 times 12. That would give us a number of 38 times 12 would give me 456 feet. Do you think that sounds reasonable? No, because in 38 inches is not the same as 456 feet. I would take 38, divide by 12. 38 divide by 12 and we get 3.17 feet. I'm not going to have you put it back into a fraction, okay? So there's the basics of how we would convert there. But I don't like that method because I don't want us to have to memorize when I multiply, when I divide. So I'm going to give you a system to use for all of our unit conversions, okay? Some of you might have used this before, some of you might not, but this is how I'm going to do it, okay? So let's move on to the next one here. If I'm going to find out how many feet are in 3.11 miles, what would you assume that we're going to do? Are we going to divide by 5,280 or are we going to multiply? We're going to multiply because feet is a small unit. Miles is a big unit, right? If I want to know how many feet are in a mile, I want a bigger number, right? So I'm going to show you my method for unit conversions. And I'm going to want you to do this, okay? When we do unit conversions, we do what is called a T chart, okay? A T chart. And the way it works is we write down what we know and we draw the T, okay? It's kind of a sideways T, but it's a T nonetheless. And essentially what this T is a big set of fractions that we're multiplying together, okay? Different sets of fractions we're multiplying together. Essentially, we can put a 1 underneath that first 1 right there. I never do though, right? We assume that there's a 1 there, but I never write that. There's no need for me to do that. So that box usually gets left empty. But what I want to do when I do my conversions is I want to lead with my units. Can I go directly from miles to feet? Do I know how many feet are in a mile? Yes, so that means I can go directly from miles to feet. And so here's what I'm going to do in my chart. If miles is in the numerator, where does it need to go for me to cancel it? Does it need to go in the numerator or the denominator? Needs to go in the denominator. So here's where we go. We put it right here. So that diagonally or 1 in the numerator, 1 in the denominator, my units will cancel, okay? I'm not going to do anything with them yet, but we have to have 1 in the numerator, 1 in the denominator. We said we want to go from miles to feet, okay? And so that's what's going to go on the top right here because the unit I'm trying to go to has to go on the top. Okay, are we okay with how this got here right away? Yeah. And lead with my units. I write down what I know. Bless you. I always start with what I know, okay? And I know I've got 3.11 miles. So that's what goes in my T first. Then I know I need to cancel miles. So it goes on the bottom. My goal is to get to feet, so it goes on top. And I know the relationship between feet and miles, and that's the numbers that are going to go in my chart right here, okay? So right in this part of my chart, this next column, I need to make that column true. I don't do any math. I put in numbers that I know are true. So am I going to try to tell you how many miles are in 1 foot? Or am I going to try to tell you how many feet are in 1 mile?
How many feet are in 1 mile?
That's right. I'm going to say that 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. Right? I'm not doing any math. I'm just pulling these numbers directly from my chart. Okay? And then I'm going to check my units one more time. Miles cancels. Feet is what I want to get to, right? It asks me to solve for feet. And so I'm done, right? My conversion is done. And I know you're probably thinking like, wow, that's a lot of work for what we already said we needed to do, which was multiply. And I get that. But when we have conversions that are more than one step, we've got to be good with this system. Okay, so what we're going to do now that we've got our units in place is we multiply across everything that's on the top and we divide by the whole bottom. Okay, so I said it's like multiplying fractions together. We're going to multiply across the whole top, divide by the whole bottom. So in my calculator, I'm going to plug in 3.11 times 5,280. And I'm going to divide by whatever's on the bottom, right? I'll hit enter and divide by. But do I need to plug in divide by 1? No, I don't, right? It's not going to change anything. So I'm not. So that gives me 16,420.8 feet, right? My units are going to be feet. Okay, and that's it. Does that answer seem reasonable? Were we expecting us to have a big number here? Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? Because there's a lot of feet in 1 mile, let alone in 3.1 miles. Okay? Tell me, what questions do we have about the chart?
So there was like 2 miles, for example, on the bottom, we just do.
We're never going to, this is always, like, one of those units is always going to have a 1. Because you're always going to tell how many smaller things are in the big unit. So we wouldn't ever put a 2 down here with miles. We're always going to say how many things are in one of the bigger thing. Okay? Because I don't want you to have to do any math while you're putting numbers into the chart. I just want you to do math one time at the end. Okay. Let's go to the next one. How many inches are in 2.10 feet? Okay? So we're going to use our teach right here, and we're going to start with what we know. Okay? What we know is what comes in the problem. So when I say what we know, that means we're going to start with what we see in the problem, the number we're given. 2.10 feet, and I draw my T. Can I go directly from feet to inches? Like, do I know how many inches are in a foot? I do, right? So what's going to go in the bottom right here? Just the unit. What's the bottom? What's the bottom one? It's going to be feet. And what unit's going to go on the top? Inches, right? Because that's where I want to go to. And so now I've got to put the numbers in to make it true. Is it easier for me to tell how many inches are in a foot or how many feet are in 1 inch?
Feet are in 1 inch.
No,
I think it's easier to tell how many inches are in a foot. I think it's easier to tell. We're always going to give the bigger unit. Think about what unit's bigger, and we're going to give that the 1. So the unit for feet is bigger, and then we say there's 12 inches in a foot.
So then we do 2.10 times 12.
That's it. Okay, so we're going to cancel feet. We're left in inches, 2.11 times 12. And I get 25.32 inches. Okay, so does that seem rational? Does that answer seem like it fits in with what we expected? Yes, right, I would agree. We know that 2 feet has to be a little over 24 inches. Okay. How many miles are in 4,330 inches? Here's my question I want to ask. Can we go directly from inches to miles? Do we know how many inches are in 1 mile right without doing any math? No. But what do we know? What's the connector between there? Feet, right? We're going to go from inches to feet to miles. So our chart here has to be, it's going to have an extra step in it. It's not just going to be able to go one thing. We're going to have to add to our chart. So we're always going to start with what we know. We're always going to start with what we know, which is 4,330 inches. Okay, and we're going to make our chart here. Now, we said we can't go directly from inches to miles, but we can go from inches to feet. Okay? So let's go ahead and put that in, and let's go ahead and put our numbers in. 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. And then if we stopped right there, right, we cancel inches. If we did our math, what unit would we be in right there? Inches. We'd be in feet, right? If we did the math right there and we stopped right there, we'd be in feet. But we don't want to be in feet. We want to be in miles. So we're going to cancel feet down here, and we're going to go to miles. We're going to put in our numbers. 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. So now I come check my units again, right? Feet is canceled. Inches is canceled. My unit that I'm left in always is going to be that upper right, which is miles. And is that what the question asks me to go to? Yes. So now I do the math, okay? I'm going to multiply across the whole top, divide by the whole bottom. You're going to hear me say that a lot, okay? Multiply across the whole top, divide by the whole bottom. Now, do I need to go 4,330 times 1 times 1? No. I don't, right? But in my calculator, I'm going to hit 4,330 divide by 12. And then without even hitting enter, I'm just going to hit divide by 5,280. Right? I'm just going to divide by each thing that's on the bottom. Because it's like we're multiplying fractions together. So if it's in the denominator, we divide by it. And so that gives me a number of 0.0683. And what would my units be? Miles.
So you did 4,330 divided by 12 divided by 4.
That's right. Without hitting enter or anything. Just divide by this, divide by this. If I have to do math in both the numerator and the denominator, after the numerator is done, I hit enter. And then in my calculator, I just go divide by, divide by. Okay?
So if it's like 4,300 inches and it's 1, you just divide by like the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And okay.
Multiply across the whole top, divide by the whole bottom. You hear me say that a lot. Okay? Do we have any questions? Does this fit the expectation for what we thought the number might be? Did we expect it to be small? I hope so, right? That's some inches, but in terms of miles, that's a small fraction of it. Okay? All right, let's jump into the metric system now. So you might need your metric system chart out. Okay, you might need that out so we can help convert there. How many grams are in 125.2 kilograms? Can we convert directly from grams to kilograms? Do we have anywhere that tells us how many grams are in 1 kilogram?
1,000.
That's right. I think we do. We can go directly there because we see on our chart that 1 kilo unit is equal to 1,000 units. And we just plug in grams there instead of units. So we're going to go directly from kilograms to grams. So I'm going to start my chart with what I know. And I'm going to put my units in place first. So what unit needs to go here?
Grams.
Mm.
Oh, no, kilograms.
Kilograms, right? Because it needs to cancel. We always cancel diagonally down there. Okay, kilograms goes in. My goal is to get to grams. So that's what goes on the top. And then I put in my numbers. So I look to my chart. Is grams or kilograms bigger? Kilograms is bigger, and it's going to get the 1. And then how many grams are in a kilogram? 1,000. Okay. All right. What's the math I'm going to end up doing here?
125.2 times 1,000.
Good. 125.2 times 1,000, which is 125,200. Okay, now some of you might have learned just how to move the decimal place with the metric system. That works perfectly fine too. But if we have situations in where we're doing a lot of back and forth, then it gets a little bit tricky. Okay? But what should my final unit be here?
Grams.
This is just going to be grams because kilograms, we got rid of kilograms. Yep, we canceled that one. Yep, so our unit should always be the one that's in that top right, okay, of our chart. All right, let's try this next one. How many milliliters are in 2.3 liters? Okay, we're going to start with what we know. We always start with what we know. Okay, you're going to hear me say that a lot too. We start with what we know, and then we're going to place our units in. So what needs to go in the bottom of that next section?
Milliliters?
Mm-hmm.
Liters?
What needs to cancel?
Liters.
Liters has to cancel, right? We lead with our units. So automatically, if it's here, it needs to go here, right? I need to get rid of it by putting it in the
And
denominator.
then the top milliliters.
The top one's what we're going to, which is milliliters, right? So liters and milliliters. So now I'm going to check my metric system chart and figure out what numbers need to go in there, right? What numbers need to go for liter and milliliter. Any ideas? Tell me first of all, which one's bigger? Is a milliliter larger or a liter larger? A liter's bigger, so it's going to get the 1. And how many milli is in the base of anything? Look at your chart.
1,000.
1,000. Okay, and so I've canceled liters. I'm left in milliliters. So now I do the math. 2,300 milliliters.
Is this the last class?
Mm-hmm. How many seconds are in a leap year?
Wait, how many seconds are in a year?
What's a leap year?
I don't know.
A leap year?
How would I know how many seconds are in a year? What? Tell me. Can we? First of all, what do we have to know?
How many seconds are in a year?
No. We're no. What's the first thing we need to know?
How many days are in a year? A minute.
No, that's not the first thing. I'm not starting with seconds. I'm trying to get to seconds. That's right. We need to know how many days are in a leap year.
So 366.
That's what I'm starting with, right? I'm not starting with seconds. I'm starting with a leap year. And we said a leap year is 366 days. Right?
24 hours in a day.
Okay, so yeah, let's think through this. What's my path to go from days to seconds?
Do 60 times 24, and then you get that.
No. Don't.
Months.
You're on the right track, but just think about this. I need to go from years to. Okay, I'm already in days. Sorry, I guess I'll do that. We're gonna start with days. Then I need to go to. I don't think I need to go to months. What do I know between days? I know how many hours are in a day, so I can do that. Then I need to go to minutes. Then I can go to seconds. Right? So I'm gonna have to make quite a path through here. So. If days is what I'm trying to get rid of to go to hours, what needs to go right here? What needs to go on the bottom?
Days.
Days, right? Days needs to go on the bottom. And we said we're going to hours. So let's make that part of our column true. Is it easier to tell how many days are in 1 hour or how many hours are in 1 day? Okay, so 1 day is equal to 24 hours. Very good. Okay, let's keep moving. I'm going to get rid of hours by putting it on the bottom, and I'm going to go to minutes. That's the next step in my path I drew out up here. Okay, so 1 hour is equal to
60 minutes.
60 minutes. And then I'm going to keep going and get rid of minutes and go to seconds. Right? And I'm going to tell in 1 minute how many seconds. Right? Do you see how I had to make my path all the way? I started with days, and I got rid of days. I got rid of hours. I got rid of minutes, and I'm left in seconds, which is what I want. So are we going to expect a big number here or a small number?
Big, really big.
We should expect a really big number. $31,622,400 seconds.